Hey Shmunchkins, we're doing a full sew in today on my client Sylvia. Say hey, Sid. Sylvia's gonna have a side bang that is gonna cover. Well, actually, it's not gonna cover any of her eyes. She said she didn't really want it in her face. So you guys know with a full sew in, that's a little bit difficult to try to achieve. But we're gonna get her as close as we can. I'm gonna start braiding her hair up over the right side, and I add a little piece of synthetic or human hair to the beginning of each braid. I don't put enough hair into it where it'll extend out throughout the lengths because I don't need the extra bulk in the braid, but I do like to create a little bit more strength at the beginning of the braid. So we're going to go all the way around, and I like to go over the occipital bone for the first braid, and then when I continue with the classic beehive pattern, I'm just going to go over the braid. I know you've heard me say this to before, but when I'm braiding, I'm concentrating on staying as close to that hairline as possible in the front and around the circumference of her hair. When your hair grows, it grows back off your forehead, and in the back towards the nape, it grows up. So you'll essentially end up with a sew-in sitting in the middle of your head if you keep it in longer. So that being said, being that this is a full sew-in, it's going to rise back off of her forehead the longer she keeps it in. So the closer to the hairline, the better, and the longer it'll look, the best it can look. And I always say the braid pattern is the foundation of a great sew-in. So as I'm braiding this up, you guys can see that that first braid that I did that's going over her occipital bone is actually keeping me balanced. It's separating the top crown of her head from the back nape. So when I'm sewing my hair in rows, I'm going to make sure when I get to that row that I'm measuring and I'm balancing out that it's completely even on both sides. I'm also coiling the tail back inside the part lines, and I'm sewing it down so you don't have any bulk right there. You just hide it within the part lines. So I always use a soft net when I'm doing my extensions. It comes standard in my service. I use a hard net if the client requests. So right here at the intersections of the hair that's closer to the, what was that, the side temple, you see where the braid that I put across the occipital bone intersects with the braid that's coming around the circumference. Those are my stopping and my starting points. So you see I started the braid there, I stopped it on the other side. Then I'm going to rock it back, and when it gets back to the right side, that's when we're going to continue that track up towards the face. So everything is symmetric here, and everything is designed so that I don't have to create these stopping and starting points myself. I can see it, I can apply it, and it makes my job so much easier and faster when your roadmap is already drawn out for you. This method is pull and tug and a blanket stitch. But this is how I turn my corners without cutting my tracks. Okay, so every time I get to a hairline piece, this is what I really want to do. You're gonna sew the track underneath the braid by looping the track under the braid. If you can see, I'm not doing a blanket stitch here. I'm hiding that track, and then it's creating a little cubby up underneath the braid, so when I flip it back, it's tucked away up under there, so I don't have to turn around and stitch it 1,000 times to secure it. We will be cutting Sylvia's hair in layers, So when we're coming layers, it's important around the face, especially around the temporal area. That's where your length and your weight is going to come from in your overall look. So you want to make sure that you have enough hair in the temporal area that's going to accentuate the hair that you want around the face. Being that it's cut in layers, you can actually lose that hair in the layer cutting process. So we want to make sure we're accountable for that hair. Again, this is me getting ready to turn another corner. You notice I haven't cut any of my tracks yet. So every time I get to the face, this is what I'm going to do. Just to make sure that when the wind blows and her hair blows back off of her face, you don't see a visible braid and you won't see an obvious track. Now I'm going to rock this method in her bang area the same way I did the hair around her temporal area on her left side. Now I did that on the right side too, but I only showed you the video of the left side. So we have the hair in now, and I apologize for the frame issue, but we're just going to rock that hair back in the bang, and we're going to build that front right side up as much as we can. And then we'll continue the circular sewing pattern after we establish the heaviness and the weight in her bang. Okay, so some of you seasoned extensionalists out there are probably trying to figure out why I'm not locking my stitches like every stitch like some of you do. And the reason is because I only lock my stitches when I'm about to run out of thread or when I need like a hard turn anywhere. But if I'm just doing smooth circular transitions and everything is laying like I want it to lay, there's no reason to double knot or to lock each stitch that you do. I don't get it. My stitches are really tight together. They're not going anywhere, and I don't have to lock them all. I do lock, like I said, when I'm ending a needle, the thread of a needle, I'll go ahead and lock it. Or if I'm going to hit a hard corner, then I'll go ahead and lock it. Now everything is braided up until you really can't braid that circle anymore. And then what I do is I'll go ahead and lock that stitch in. The remainder of the thread, I'll go ahead and eyeball and kind of measure out my circle that I'm going to pop into place. And then I begin to stitch it together. It's still attached to the hair at this point. I normally don't do like a separate, I guess, closure, handmade closure piece. I just keep it all connected. Like y'all see, I don't like to cut any tracks. So I'll go ahead and stitch it together so it pops in nicely. And then when I pop it in, I'll figure out the center of it. I'll spread it out so that so it sits evenly, and that's how I know that's where I'm going to secure it. So as I begin to secure this handmade closure in, you're going to take the needle, which is still attached to the piece, which is still attached to the hair, and you're going to go inside the center of the closure piece. So when you go inside with the needle, you're going to come out on top. Your job now is to go back inside that same hole, come underneath a couple of the braids north. Then you're going to turn around, take that needle back under that same hole if you can, back to the center of the closure. Okay, so now you just locked it in north, and you're going to do the same thing south. So go back in that same hole it just came out of. And now you're going to go south. So go back in again. Same hole. Try to hit the center of that closure piece. So now you've locked in north and south. So at this point, you're going to do the same thing for east and west. So, like I said, the same part of the closure. You're going to go in through the center. You're going to take it under a couple of braids to the left. To the right. Then you're going to go back in that same hole. If you can, it's not going to be the same hole, but you just want to get it closer to. And now you're going to go west. Making sure everything is secure. Go back in and make it come out the top. So at this point, sometimes with some types of hair, it's not all the way going to be secure. At that point, I cut my thread. So you saw me sewing with the thread folded over two strands. At that point, I'll go ahead and cut the thread in half, and I'll be sewing northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest, just to secure it in all angles with the single row of thread. And now she's getting cut. We use a razor to cut. It just blends layers a whole lot better. If you use shears, being that you sewed this in rows, the best haircut is still going to be choppy because the hair is in rows. So what you want to do is you want to use a razor, a feather razor, and then you can go in with a texturizer. You can go in and point cut some extra hair that may not have gotten cut the way you wanted it to. Now you're just going to detail around all the flat pieces. You all know that when you have extensions, there's like a 1-inch, a 1-inch piece of hair around the weft on either side where they fold the hair just to stitch it on. In your closure piece and on your part line, you don't want that hair sticking out, so I just cut all of those little tiny pieces off. Now we blew Sylvia out, and I just went ahead and curled her a little bit with my curling iron. She did not want any tight curls, but I didn't want it straight. So, because she reused this hair, this wasn't brand new hair. So, I just put some really, really, really loose curls in it so she can have some little movement, body. And she absolutely loved it. So here's the final look. Thank you for watching. While I have a minute, I just want to let you know, guys, I'm working on a store, and I want to bring you some quality equipment, quality tools, and quality salon apparel. So check me out. Thank you.